Hey, John, how are you this week?
Hi, Elliot. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. This week we had something pretty meaty come out. The FinCEN published a advance notice of proposed rulemaking, and there was a lot of stuff in it. So, for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with this is a uh, feature that the Administrative Procedures Act allows agencies to, before they start to think about proposing regulation, to actually query the public about specific kinds of things that they want to think about. Some of this seemed to come out of the Bank Secrecy Act Advisory Group's special working group that came up with some recommendations that were published last October, I think. What was in those recommendations, John?
Yeah, I think that's right. Most, if not all, came from that working group. What's interesting here is basically this is a reaction. I would advocate. This is a reaction to sort of regulatory expectations being unclear and potentially confusing, right? And so part of what the recommendations look at is that agencies going forward consider publishing a regulatory definition of AML program effectiveness, which would go a long way to clearing up confusion, develop and communicating national AML priorities as set by State Department, Treasury, other places, and then issue clarifying guidance on the elements of an effective AML program. I think all of those bullet points could lead to some clarity and some direction that we previously haven't had. So I think this could be potentially, I hate to use jargon, but a game changer.
Yeah, I agree with you. Another feature of an advanced notice of proposed rulemaking is, as this one often has specific questions that the agency would like people to, responders to comment on. And in this case, I think there were 11 questions. Were there any that really jumped off the page at you, John?
I don't know if they jumped on the page, but there's been an age-old debate on risk assessments. Everybody values risk assessments, but they're not legally or technically required. However, if you go into an exam and haven't had one, it's going to be really difficult to defend your program. So one of the questions is, should there be a specific regulatory change to require a risk assessment? And that's unique. That's different. And I think I've already talked to a few bankers very quickly. This just came out, obviously. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, they said, having a reg wouldn't be that horrible, that perhaps with a risk assessment requirement, there would be less opportunity for, again, confusion on behalf of the institution on what the examiner or what the regulator is looking for. So that's in there. They also ask a question about, there's various business models and risk profiles in there. So should FinCEN consider changes to appropriately reflect those differences in risk profiles? And from a high level, sure, but what does that mean? So they actually use an example. They say a reg amendment to incorporate the requirement for, quote, an effective and reasonably designed, unquote, AML program could be proposed for all institutions within each industry type. So I would argue that our community bank friends would say, heck yeah, let's have a model that reflects the fact that our risk levels, for the most part, are lower. The products that we have are not as diverse. So I think that's an interesting question, and really looking forward to hearing from our clients and members of the community what they think about this and the other questions that FinCEN has posed.
Yeah, I agree with all you said. One of the things, coming back to the risk assessments, the advantage of having it actually be required by regulation is it would move it out of that very murky area that gives all of us in the industry pause, which is regulator expectation. Right. Where, you need to do something because you're going to get asked about it and possibly get some kind of a comment about it in a report. But depending on the exam team or depending on the agency, if you have multiple agencies doing exams in your organization, you can get misalignment in terms of what your
expected to accomplish.
Right.
So,
I would just say, sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to sort of conclude on my end by saying that comments are due November 16th. So a 60-day period, obviously. They can be filed electronically. They actually still have mail, so you can mail them. But what we're thinking of doing here at AML RightSource is talking to our clients and others in the community and preparing a comment letter. So not so much on behalf of us who works with institutions, but on behalf of our clients, not by name, but in terms of themes and topics. So all I would say to folks out there, really important that you comment. We are happy to provide some of your concerns, challenges, or support if you'd like to do that. So more to come on our end, but this is a really great opportunity to perhaps shape the AML infrastructure going forward.
agreed. Well, have a great week, and I will talk to you next week.
Great. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too.